All right, today we're jumping into something really fascinating. It's one author's ambitious attempt to literally map out human destiny. They came up with this framework of 18 factors that they argue shape the inevitable path of our lives. So let's just get right to it with the biggest question of them all, right? The one philosophers have wrestled with forever. Is your life predestined, or do you actually have free will? Are you in control? What's interesting is that this framework we're looking at offers a pretty definitive and kind of surprising answer. Okay, so how does it work? Well, the author didn't just throw 18 random ideas at the wall. They're all carefully cataloged and grouped into these key areas that build on each other. It's almost like a blueprint for a person's life. So let's walk through that blueprint together and see how it all fits. First up, we have the unseen blueprint. The author starts at the very, very beginning. Actually, you know what? Even before the beginning. We're talking about the foundational forces that are supposedly in place before you or I ever take our first breath. Okay, the first concept is, well, it's a wild one. It's called past life karma. The theory goes that your core personality, the deep down you, doesn't actually come from your parents' DNA. Instead, it's inherited from whatever vessel your soul was in during a previous life. So for instance, if a soul was in a fox, you might be born naturally cunning. If it was in a cow, maybe you're just inherently hardworking and patient. It's a pretty different way of looking at where our traits come from. And building right on top of that is something called ancestral inheritance. Now, this is way more than just, getting your grandfather's nose. The author argues we inherit all sorts of subtle things, even physical stuff like body odor, but it gets deeper. They say we also inherit intangible things, like hidden debts from what our ancestors did, or even the social consequences of their reputation, good or bad. It's like you're carrying this whole spiritual and social legacy with you. This brings us to a really key distinction the author makes, and it's super important. They draw a line between the gene and genetic information. Think of it like this. The gene is the hardware. It's the universal blueprint that makes you a human being. It's why we're not chimpanzees. But the genetic information, that's the software. It's the unique code you inherit, carrying all that ancestral baggage and, as the author puts it, even the creator's will. All right, so that's the stuff that's supposedly locked in before you're even born. Now let's move to the next layer in this blueprint, the world you're actually born into. This is all about the environment and how it molds you. First on the list is feng shui. But hold on, this isn't about moving your furniture around for good vibes. The author's talking about something deeper, what they call the earth energy of a place. The theory is that if you live somewhere with good, vibrant energy, it can actually help foster talent and creativity. But if you're in a place with bad, stagnant energy, well, that can breed negativity and really hold you back. Of course, environment is also about the people in it, especially our parents, and this anecdote from the source just hits it home perfectly. There's this story about a teacher who couldn't figure out why a student was constantly swearing. So the teacher visits the student's home and discovers the boy's father uses that exact same swear word in pretty much every sentence he speaks. It's just a perfect, stark reminder of how we just soak up everything around us, especially as kids. Now, let's zoom out even more, from the home to society itself. The author makes a powerful point that the era you're born into completely changes the rules of the game. I mean, think about it. In the Roman Empire, your opportunities were totally different. Or a more modern example, during China's Cultural Revolution, perming your hair or owning a business made you a speculator and got you into a ton of trouble. But just a few years later, in the Reform era, that same permed hair was high fashion, and that business owner was a respected entrepreneur. Your time literally defines what's possible. And finally, when it comes to our environment, the author singles out one person as the most critical factor of all. Who is it? Your spouse. They're seen as having this just immense power to influence everything about you, from your habits and your values all the way to your ultimate success or failure. It's a huge claim. Okay, so we've got the blueprint you're born with, and we've got the world that shapes you from the outside. Now, let's go inside. Let's talk about our internal compass, the forces within us that drive every single decision we make. So the author says our core beliefs basically act as that compass. But here's the thing. Not all compasses point north. Some beliefs can lead you down a very passive path. I mean, if you truly believe that everything is fate and you can't change it, or that money is God, or even that life is just a dream, so why bother? Well, your actions are going to reflect that, right? But then, on the flip side, you have these totally different proactive beliefs that lead to a completely different kind of life. The idea that man determines his own success, or the classic, the strong devour the weak, so you have to compete, or even that religion is a guide to truth.
These beliefs set you on a path of ambition, of struggle, of searching. So you can see how your core belief system is absolutely critical in setting the course for your entire life.
So, what's even deeper than our beliefs? What's driving them? The author points to our raw, instinctual programming, our operating system, if you will. This is the 7 emotions: joy, anger, sadness, the drill, and the 6 desires: the drive for food, sex, power, possessions. This is the absolute base level engine that's pushing all of us every single day. And out of all those desires, the author puts a spotlight on one in particular: the desire to be outstanding. Think about it, that deep, nagging need we all have to be recognized, to be respected, to stand out from the crowd. This is the reason why people wear luxury brands. It's the reason we sometimes argue with an expert just to show how smart we are. It's a powerful, powerful force that shapes so many of our choices, big and small. Okay, so after all that, past life, karma, genetics, your parents, society, your deepest desires, you might be feeling a little trapped. Like, where's the free will in all this? But this is where the entire argument takes a really fascinating and honestly a pretty empowering turn.
Here's the big twist. The author's conclusion is that this whole framework, it's not a prison cell, it's a map. The point of listing all 18 of these factors isn't to tell you you're a puppet, it's to show you the strings. It's to help you see exactly what forces are pulling on you so you can finally understand them. And that brings us to the core thesis, the big idea of this whole thing. Understanding the forces is just step 1. The next and most important step is what the author calls self-cultivation, a conscious, active effort to work on yourself. Because that is how you move from what they call the kingdom of necessity, where you're just a product of these forces, to the kingdom of freedom, where you actually get to choose. So what does that path actually look like? Well, the author lays it out. First, you have to recognize the forces controlling you. You have to see the map. Then you begin a practice of self-cultivation. This allows you to start consciously adjusting your life's coordinates. From there, you can actually start to break free from your base programming, what the author calls the 5 elements that shape your personality, and finally achieve real freedom. And that really leaves us with one last big question, a question for you personally. This whole thing takes this abstract framework and makes it a real challenge. If you could see your own personal blueprint, really see it, all the forces from your ancestors, your environment, your inner desires, all laid out on a map, what's the one thing you would consciously choose to change? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with us.